Welcome to the episode of Sittin Courtside. Today, we are going to start off by telling you need to go support us. All right, guys, this isn't free. We put a lot of hard work into this, and we'd love for you to support us by supporting people we love by going over to Happy Hippo Home Decor. You can get all of your Christmas gifts there. I'm talking tumblers, signs, sweatshirts, shirts, masks if you're into that kind of stuff. Everything is over there. You can get it sitting courtside. You can get it not sitting courtside. Everything and anything you'd ever want over at Happy Hippo Home Decor. Go support them by supporting us. And without further ado, let's start the show. Welcome to the episode of Sitting Courtside. Today is December 5th, and we have had an absolutely bonkers weekend of college basketball. And Kyle is going to lead us off here because I don't even know where to start, Kyle. I don't know where to start. I'm going to lose my mind. Take over.
Yeah, it was absolute carnage for the top 25 is how I'd describe it. And there's nowhere else to start, but let's start with the number one team going down to Northwestern on Friday night. If you watched it, it was a very long game because there was 1,000 fouls in it, but it was 92-88 in overtime. Purdue loses on the road to Northwestern. They rush the court. The daughter of Collins is crying. So last year is the son of Collins that cried. So now we have the whole family has cried now, and they beat Purdue now at number one twice, back-to-back years. And I mean, it was truly a gutsy performance by Northwestern. They were down to their last forward who shot 25 or shoots 25% from the free throw line. So every time he went there, he was bricking them left and right. But somehow they held on it despite giving up a game-tying layup with no time left in regulation. It was honestly, once it got to overtime, I thought it was done, but Boo Buie just would not be stopped against Purdue.
How do you lose to a guy named Boo Buie?
He crushed him, man.
I know. Well, so actually the bigger storyline here is Purdue looked like they had this in the bag first half. They held Boo Buie, I'm going to say his name every time, to 11 points in the first half. Yeah. Everyone and their mother thought for sure Buie was going to have to come out and have a historic type performance. He did in the second half. He looked great. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is what college basketball is this year. It is no one is safe, especially on the road in conference play. We knew Northwestern was a good basketball team. Quality win for them. They continue this. They're probably getting in the tournament now because they can say they took out Purdue. Mm-hmm. On the other account, yeah, I saw that the forward shot 25% from the free throw line. That should be illegal as a forward. Really You're not a forward. You're a center. Yeah. Welcome, Shaquille O'Neal V2. Like, I don't. Yeah. How did you get a D1 scholarship and shoot 25% from the free throw line?
Yeah, it's remarkable.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
And I was around a ton of Purdue fans this weekend for the wedding because a lot of Purdue alums, and it's the same sentiment they had all last year. When they play against an elite guard, they're just they don't know how to stop that. They literally just don't know how to stop elite guards.
Yeah, well, good luck winning a national title at that rate.
Yeah. So let's move on to the next game where we actually previewed as maybe the best game of the year. I don't know if the play on the court actually lived up to the hype that we gave it, but it was a good game nonetheless. Number 5 Kansas wins the big battle against number 4 UConn at home, 69-65. UConn basically was playing a one-man team here. They had Tristan Newton had almost 50% of their scoring, and the rest of the team shot 5 of 19 from 3 and 34% from the field. So they got nothing from the supporting cast. It was all Newton, 31 points. Wasn't enough though because McCullough on the other side shot 65% from 3 and was just a star, and he's been great all season. And even though Dickinson was in foul trouble, Kansas still was able to hold on. What was your takeaway from this one?
I honestly feel like Kansas kind of handled the entire game. I think the final score does not reflect that. I mean, I think they stretched it out to like 16 at one point. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah, Newton went for a little bit of a streak, got it within 9. Good game nonetheless. I think both these teams, I mentioned it last episode, they're probably going to be a little bit different 3 months from now, 4 months from now, if they get to play again. And McCullough, every time I see that guy, it should be illegal for him to wear a Kansas jersey. You made your name in a Texas Tech jersey. You would have been a Texas Tech legend. You traitor, you thief. You're just as bad as that other school over on the east side that they made a song about. I can't with those people. Cavaliers. But yeah, I did enjoy the game though. I do think both teams have a lot to improve on. I honestly felt like I was not watching 2 top 10 teams, quite frankly, to be honest with you, but that's why we play the games. We'll see what happens coming into the year, but good game nonetheless.
Yeah, and let's just go ahead and say it to the NCAA. Let's not schedule two blue bloods at the same time as the Pac-12 title game. Let's just go ahead and not do that on a late Friday night. So next year, let's do it a little bit better.
Fun fact, I had no idea that the Pac-12 championship was even on Friday until a guy at work told me. And I'm a college football guy.
Yeah, I was about to say, you're more of a college football.
I had no idea. I'm like, oh, yeah, I got big games tomorrow. And he's like, we got one tonight. I'm like, no, we don't. And he's like, yeah, you do. Like,
you certainly do.
All I had on my brain was UConn, Kansas. That's all I had.
Yeah. All right. Last episode, you asked about the panic button, and that panic button is being absolutely smashed by me right now.
Yeah.
Number 7, Duke continues to spiral. Lost their ACC opener at Georgia Tech, 72-68. Not only did they lose the game to a very inferior team, they also lost their starting point guard, which looks to be a very serious injury. Tyrese Proctor could not put weight on his leg, so looks like he's going to be out for a while. And if you remember last year, Duke was very bad at the beginning of conference play. They started out 5-4. It was a mess. We were talking about them every single pod. What changed is they started having Roach moved to the 2 and Proctor play the 1. And that's what they've done ever since then. That's what got them rolling late last year. This is going to be a huge issue for Duke, having to have Roach be the lead guard, because he's just not the passer Proctor is. I am very worried about Duke.
I told you, dude. I told you. My one concern about Duke, we did our preseason episode, is their guard play, and we are right back to square one.
Yeah,
back to square one. What's more offensive is Georgia Tech is playing Georgia I think Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
They're not even favored in that game.
They're
I think they're 4.5 point dogs. You just beat Duke, and what?
Yeah.
But yeah, you knew exactly where I was going. I had to ask where the panic button was.
Yeah, it's being slammed. I am pounding that panic button right now.
That's just all time.
Yeah.
I looked like the smartest guy in the room not putting in my top 10 last week.
And I have no idea how they're still in the top 25. They're like 22nd or 23rd or something. And
because they're Duke.
Yeah.
They're Duke.
They have no quality wins, because I don't think Michigan State's a quality win right now. So,
no.
Things are bad here.
They also are dogs against Wisconsin on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Actually, speaking of Wisconsin, it's the next game up on
fed you that one.
Number 3, Marquette, dominated by Wisconsin, 75-64. A terrible first half crushed Marquette here. They shot 24% from 3 for the game and only shot half as many free throws as Wisconsin. We've mentioned the lack of depth a lot with Wisconsin numerous times on these podcasts, but it remained true in this. They only had one player score off their bench, but their starting 5 is experienced. It didn't really produce so much last year, but when you have the same starting 5 essentially back to back, you're going to at least be able to be frisky, especially when you're at home. And this was a huge win. Wisconsin is now ranked at 22 in the most recent poll. And yeah, Marquette, I didn't see this one coming. I thought they were a much better team than Wisconsin.
I'm torn with this one. I feel like I maybe foreshadowed this a bit, where they have to shoot the ball really well. They don't have like that Shaka defense that he became famous for. But I will say what I said last week about I think it was Villanova, actually. I'm not concerned. Naturally, I'm going to say this, and they will also lose another game like Villanova did. And also, now that you bring it up, I've decided that I think I'm going to start calling this the Jordan curse, because there were 3 teams last week that I talked heavily about. All 3 of them lost. Okay. Marquette, Villanova, Kentucky. All 3 of them lost. Just absolute despicable.
Yeah. I mean, we can move on to the next one, because it is Kentucky. And
I'm feeding you these segues. I'm feeding you, dude.
Number 12, Kentucky. This one really shocked me, because all weekend before this game happened, I was talking about, man, have you guys watched Kentucky? They have so much. We talked about them all last podcast. Lost at home to UNC Wilmington, 80-73. I mean, they held UNC Wilmington to 43% shooting. They committed 12 turnovers. In the stat sheet, you really can't tell why Kentucky lost. They were without one starter, but the guy that filled in, Reed Shepherd, that we talked about last pod, he played great in that role. He scored 25 points. So really confusing. I didn't have a chance to watch this because it was during the wedding. So I just was able to look up the stat sheet, but I didn't see this one coming. I thought Kentucky was a top 5, playing like a top 5 team right now.
I don't know if I said this on the show or if I just thought it out loud in my own brain. They were 17.5 point favorites. I remember looking at that line and telling myself, coming off of a big emotional win over Miami, they're due for a downer. I didn't think they would lose, but there was a piece of me that was like, they might not cover the 17.5.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if I said that out loud on the show, but I feel like that was such an easy letdown spot for them. And then again, we've talked about them being a young team. I think it's better that it happened now instead of later, like conference play where they lose to like Auburn. I don't know, a crappy team in the SEC. Like, good for them now. Again, not concerned about Kentucky with this loss. Shocked by it, not concerned by it.
Do you think it has anything to do with they revealed a new court that day? Was it the court's fault that they lost that game?
Hot take. Is it the
Yeah.
court's fault? People are
Yes.
asking that. We should put that out on the Tweeter.
Yeah, I think
People
so.
are
I think we
asking,
need
is it
that.
the court's fault? Should they bring back the old court? That's a good question, Kyle. It's a good question.
All right, next game that we need to recap is one of your teams. So I'll let you go with this one, but another weird loss for Villanova, number 18. They're now not ranked, but they lost 55-57 at home to Drexel. What do you have on this one?
I don't even know. I think I actually tweeted like I had no words. Like, I don't even know what to do with them at this point. I think that's what I said. I don't know what to do with Villanova. Yeah, they're gonna get crushed in the Big East if we're gonna play like this. I can't even say like, oh, we're fine, because it's 2 in a row. Yeah. And the offense is non-existent. I don't know what they think they're doing on offense. We come off maybe the best week in 2 years after having an amazing run for a decade, and now they just look like the same Villanova that we all came accustomed to knowing in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where they had those amazing runs. I don't know. I don't know, Kyle. I'm not feeling good. You want to ask me about the panic button? You want to ask me about the panic button?
How about that
panic button's open in the desk. The drawer is open.
Okay.
Right here, both figuratively and literally. I have the desk drawer open right now. Panic button potentially coming out, but not yet.
Okay. I will say we already know they don't have a lot of depth, and their second best player and their best guard, Justin Moore, is in a huge shooting slump right now. 7 of 27 in his last 2 games. He needs to get out of that because they don't have, like you said, like they barely are scoring. They can't afford their best shooter to be in a slump.
Not good.
All right. The last like notable upset that I had here, I'll be honest, I didn't even know this team was ranked. Number 21, Mississippi State. They might have had the worst loss of all these teams. They lost 65-59 to a home team, or at home to a team named Southern that was 1-6 before this game.
Yeah.
And like I said, I didn't even know they were ranked, but they won't be ranked the rest of the year. They just had 2 really bad losses this week to Georgia Tech and this random college named Southern.
I absolutely dodged the bullet, by the way. I was super high on Mississippi State last week. Did not verbally say it. Did not put them in my top 10. Thought about it. That's how much I love this team and their defense. Thank God I did not do that. I am shocked by this one of all. This might be the worst loss of the century.
Yeah,
like bad. People want to talk about UMBC over Virginia, the 116. This is worse. This team barely won a game.
Yep.
I can't tell you where they're from. South, I hope.
Yeah, I would hope so. Somewhere south.
I mean, they're called Southern. Southern what? Southern Canada? Southern Asia? I don't. Where are you from? Where are you from?
No idea. This is the first time I've ever heard of them. So. All right, just quick notes for other games that did happen. Houston held off Xavier. Not a very impressive win for Houston, but they did get the win 66-60. Gonzaga took care of USC. This is a pretty impressive win in my book, 89-76. They were in control of that game from the tip. It was like 14-3 to start before the first commercial break. Colorado State, they kept rolling 86-81 over Washington in Las Vegas. Illinois dominates on the road over Rutgers 76-58, which if you guys didn't bet that, I don't know what you guys were listening to, because they were actually underdogs, and that was the easiest money line I had all weekend.
Yeah, I almost did what you did with our challenge, and I about did it, and I was like, I'm playing with fire here because I thought Marquette was such an easy bet. Yep. Needless that I had not realized it was playing with fire, but I had chose the fire.
Yeah. Yeah. I went with both of those, and they were both easy loss and an easy win.
Yeah.
Creighton crushed Nebraska on the road 89-60. If you also bet that one or listened to us last podcast, hopefully you bet it. They were only 4-point favorites. That was a very easy win there. And then a very shocking loss here. Auburn loses to Appalachian State 69-64. And I thought Auburn only had one hiccup all year, and that was early in the season. I forget who they were playing. It was a good opponent that they were playing now. But this Appalachian State, that's going to leave a little bit of a question mark going into the SEC to see how good this Auburn team is.
Auburn lost to Baylor. Fun fact.
Okay.
And that shootout that we talked about. And I kind of liked Baylor for a moment because I was like, oh, they do have an offense. Because if you remember, we thought they had no offense. Fun fact, they don't. Our eyes lied to us for one game because we forgot Baylor has no defense. I'm back on the Auburn stinks train. If you didn't catch that earlier when I said they're a stinky SEC team. But yeah, I mean, bad for Bruce Pearl. Yep. Better start sweating through his shirts again, I guess.
I'm shocked he's not already. Did you have any other games you wanted to note before we move on to our top 10?
Really, the only thing I wanted to call out again, just for everyone that listened to the last episode, Houston, that win against Xavier, not at all impressive. That they're lucky they're even in anyone's top 10. I can't believe they got 8 first place votes in the actual poll because that is not a good basketball team. And by not good, I mean they're not top 10. How do you not go into Xavier and beat the absolute dog crap out of them after what Xavier has done the first part of the year? And we're Xavier guys for the most part as a pod. And even we can say that, like, you're not good, Houston. I'm sorry. You're probably going to get like a 2 seed and lose in the second round. I'm just going to call it now.
It's hard to support Xavier like we have in the past because of their 2 best players being out all season. And that's just another reason why you can't only win by 6 in that game. All right, so let's move on to our top 10. So if you were listening to the last podcast, we unveiled our first top 10 of our podcast history. We actually never did this in the past. So we'll be doing this each week. And so we'll go ahead and give our second top 10 that we've had. I'll go first this time since you went first the last pod. I'm going to go 10-1, actually. I'm going to switch it up.
I like this.
All right. I'm going to go with number 10, Colorado State. They're 8-0. They made your top 10 last time. They're officially in mine. And this was one... When I saw them win against Washington, I was like, I'm forcing them to be in the top 10. Jordan had it right last week. I'm making sure they're in it. They don't rank in the top 10 in the AP poll, but they are in my top.
Give that 1 more week. Give that 1 more week. We're almost there.
Number 9, I have FAU at 7-1. That one blip, they are well past that. They are a good team, just like we all thought they would be. Number 8, UNC. This one hurts me because I don't want to root for them, but they played pretty impressively, and their only loss was an overtime to Villanova, so I'll put them in at number 8.
Okay.
Number 7, Gonzaga. I was really impressed against USC. They don't have a bad loss, so 6-1. They're at number 7. Baylor, I have at number 6. They were number 9 for me last time, so just because of other people losing, I moved them up to number 6. They haven't shown me anything that scares me away from ranking them right now. Number 5, I couldn't get this team up any higher than what they currently are at number 5 because you haven't beat anybody and you barely beat Xavier. So I have Houston at number 5.
Okay.
Number 4, I have UConn, who is 7-1. Only lost to Kansas. Number 3, Purdue. I have Purdue at number 3 at 7-1. Number 2, Kansas at 7-1 as well. And then just like the AP poll has, I have Arizona at number 1.
All righty. We have a lot of the same teams and almost in some of the same order. Unfortunately, I should say fortunately for everyone at home, I like to be a little crazy. So here we go. Number 10, I got Gonzaga. You referenced. I mean, they're a very good basketball team. I do think they're going to still struggle against teams that have some size because they are very much an up and down team. So I'm going to call the loss to Purdue just wrong matchup. There you go. Speaking of Purdue, I have them at number 9. You heard that correctly. Number 9, Purdue. You lose, you fall back. I can't help it. That's just the way this game is played. And you lost to Boo Buie. Boo Buie is worth you dropping to 9.
No, number 9. Okay.
Number 8, BYU.
Oh.
Yes, they've not played anyone really of yet, but they are smoking everyone. Smoking them. They beat Fresno State by like 40, Arizona State by like 20. I'm trying to remember. They played earlier in the year. They played, I feel like a French top 25 team won by like, they played San Diego State, won by 12. That's who it was. So I like BYU. Was it 10, 9, 8, 7? I got Baylor. 6, I have FAU. Again, just kind of moving up the board as teams lose. 5, just like you, I have Houston.
Okay.
I honestly feel like I didn't want to put them in the top 10 at all. But unfortunately, I would be a hypocrite, just like the College Football Playoff Committee, if I did not. Because they are undefeated. 4, UConn. Again, I'm not going to discredit them too much. They're actually in the exact same spot they were last week for me. They lost to Kansas, and what I thought, again, was a road game. We've talked about how hard it is to win on the road. Number 3, Colorado State. Let's go.
Up at number 3.
We were just 1 year early on them, Kyle. Let's get on that bandwagon now.
Okay. I'm down.
Number 2, Kansas. Big win, obviously. They get to move back up in my poll. And then, obviously, the number 1 team in the country, without question, Arizona.
All right, I like it. I really like the BYU and how high you have Colorado
I
State.
know
That's
I'm coming
nice.
in hot, man. You gotta give credit what credit's due, because if those teams start to falter at all, they will fall out quicker than a stone falling off a cliff.
Okay. So I thought we could go ahead and look at what's coming up for the week.
Mhm.
It's a little bit lighter slate. Tuesday's great. Wednesday's okay. Nothing Thursday, but huge Tuesday. Let's go ahead and just dive into the big games Tuesday. Give some analysis. If you have any picks, go ahead and throw out the picks that you have for any of the games as well. But we got to start off with just an absolutely awesome game in Madison Square Garden. Number 11 FAU 7-1 versus number 20 Illinois 6-1. This is a monster show down here. Both top 16 in Ken Palm. FAU's top 7 in offense, while Illinois is top 8 in defense. Terrence Shannon has been a star for Illinois, and we all know FAU is very balanced. All their starters average at least 9 points, and they have an elite center and guard tandem. Do you have a lean here yet? I don't know if you've seen a line for this game or anything, or
Yep.
what's your
I am going with FAU -2.
okay? Okay.
I think they're the better basketball team. They're the more complete team. The over under is set at 148. I feel like that's a little high. It is in the big stage. We know how that goes generally. They don't they're just teams in general just don't shoot that well on the big stage. Again, though, I'm not going to touch the total just because I do think these are two very well experienced, efficient teams. I'm going to avoid that, but I do like FAU -2. And by the way, I literally made this bet an hour and a half ago, and the line is now up to 3. So everyone better grab that right now, because it
Yeah.
clearly is going up very quickly.
I hadn't seen that line till now, so I'm definitely going to bet that immediately because I'm also on FAU.
Okay.
I think a lot of the public will end up just picking Illinois just because you see the names Florida Atlantic versus Illinois, but I think
Yep.
they're the better team. They played the harder schedule, and I actually do like your call of the maybe leaning on the under as well, because if you remember FAU playing in that Barstool tournament that they played
Yep.
in,
In
they
Chicago.
really, yeah, that was a decently big stage, and they could not score in that first half before just tearing up the second half. But I kind of like that under too. I'm not going to put it as a definite play, but if it goes up a little bit and
Yeah.
maybe the spread gets
I'm,
a little too high, I might lean that way.
I'm honestly curious too. People go to look at that and don't realize that it's actually a neutral site game. I feel like people
Yeah.
don't realize like if you go to really any app, like right now I'm on an app and all it just says is Florida Atlantic, it has Illinois. It does not tell you it's a neutral court game. So like people are gonna go be like, oh, it's Illinois at home. Of course I'm taking Illinois.
Yep. So got another game here, not featuring ranked teams though. Villanova 6-3 at Kansas State 6-2. And I think this is a huge statement game for Kansas State. I know it doesn't have the luster of beating Villanova it would have had just a week ago, but they did retool this entire offseason. They lost their 2 best players. They have 3 guys averaging 15 points or more, but they have 0 good wins. So I really think they need this win to put them back on the map for us to even take them seriously and start including them on our picks. But back-to-back games, overtime games against bad opponents gets me a little weary here, so I'll probably still lean to Nova in this game. I have not seen the line on it, but big game for Kansas State for sure.
So right now it's a pick 'em.
Okay, pick them.
The line's at 142.5.
142.5.
Honestly, these are two teams I do enjoy watching quite a bit, but they both are almost the same team at this point. They have all the potential in the world. They're just not showing up. By potential in the world, I mean they're fringe top 15 teams if they're playing well. They just haven't been doing it at all. I'm gonna lean under, because again, both these teams rely so heavily on one guy. It's a tough game for me. I've seen it. Didn't want to talk about it. It's so tough. But yeah, I'll lean under for the game.
Okay, and with that line being a pick 'em, I'm going to end up betting Villanova. But I mean, it's a road game, and they've lost 2 in a row. So if you're scared away from it, I don't blame you at all.
I will say, if you like it that much, that's good, because the public right now is 70% on Kansas State.
Okay, that's good. Next up, I just wanted to put this game on here because I don't think anybody's really talked about Porter Moser since he left Loyola. He's doing a hell of a job here at Oklahoma. They're 7-0. They're taking on Providence at home. Right now, I see the spread sitting at, I think it's Oklahoma -5.5, over under 146.
Yep.
I just wanted to it's not a spread I really like touching, like right around 6 points. I just wanted to point out Porter Moser in his 3rd season here doing a hell of a job at Oklahoma.
So I think this game is more of a prove it game than anything. Is Providence for real? Is Oklahoma going to actually be a dominant force in college basketball this year? Oklahoma more so like always plays this fringe game the last like 3 or 4 years. Providence had a good year obviously last year. And well, they now have a different coach. Wait. Yes, they do have a different coach.
Yes, I
I
do.
almost messed it up. Almost went the other way with Ed, I'm a fraud Cooley. But yeah, I think this will be a really fun game to watch, but I do think it's going to be a prove it game for both of these teams to decide, are you for real or not?
Yep.
And I'm not touching this game.
Yeah,
I'm not,
yeah.
I have no lean. I have nothing. Just watch it. Watch the game for the sake of it will help you next week and the week after on betting those two teams.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. We got another awesome game after the FAU Illinois game at Madison Square Garden. It's a doubleheader. They have number 9 UNC 7-1 versus number 5 UConn, who's also 7-1. This is UNC coming off of 3 impressive wins against Arkansas, Tennessee, and Florida State. Big test here, though. Huge test to see if they are legit or not. That's why I kind of wanted to put them in my top 10 just so I could like focus in and see if this is a really good team. But I don't know. Well, do we have the spread on that one yet?
Depending on when you go, it's going to float between 5 and 5.5. Over under is 153.5.
Okay, so I would probably I'm probably going to end up betting this one. I'm definitely taking UConn in this game, especially coming off a loss. But I would try to buy down into an alternative line, like maybe if it's at like minus 140 for them, -3, I would take that. But I hate laying like 6 points with almost any team, especially neutral side.
So UConn, like I said, if right now North Carolina is getting a lot of the bets. It looks like right here they're getting 67% already. Again, early line. So we'll see what tomorrow morning gives you, because this could creep down to that 4.5, 4 number, and then it's easy to buy down to 3. Because I agree with you 100% on that, and I love UConn here. North Carolina, obviously, they had their struggles 2 weeks ago. They've had some big wins moving forward. They have all the momentum. UConn has tested themselves already, right? Going to Kansas, competed. And I just don't think North Carolina is the same level as Kansas. So I'm going to take UConn as well. But again, I might even still take the 5 if I'm feeling froggy about it. But I would love to see this come down to 4, buy the point at 3. That way you put yourself in a good position.
I like that. We have our next one up is a Big Ten matchup here. Number 22 Wisconsin, who's 6-2, at Michigan State, who's 4-3. And shockingly enough, if you just look at on paper, you would think, well, it's probably close to a pick 'em. Right now, I'm seeing Michigan State -3.5 over under 130.5. And this comes down to: do you want to risk taking a road team going into a conference foe here? Yes. They have all the momentum right now, Wisconsin, and I just think this is where you just can't bet against the home team. Even though I don't like Michigan State, Wisconsin coming off of a big win, they have no depth. It's the opener at home for Michigan State in conference. I'm going to try to buy that down probably to like -2, but I would even lay the 3.5 if I had to, with what Michigan State.
Yeah, I'm avoiding this altogether.
Okay.
Fool me once, Wisconsin, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm gonna go total here. I got 130.5. With Michigan State's entire offense is guard play. If they can't somehow manage to score 70 points and Wisconsin keep pace with them, no one deserves to win this game. Yeah. So I'll go 130.5 over. Just, you might have to sweat this one out for the last 5.5 minutes and hope to God free throws happen to hit that number with these teams potentially, especially Michigan State has been shooting, which has been trash. But yeah, I don't like Wisconsin. Scares me right now that they're doing Wisconsin things, and Michigan State is just not the team we thought they were. So I cannot touch the line there.
Yeah. And if you're going to hit that over, you got to have some good shooting, because both of these teams rank outside the top 300 in pace of play. So they are two very slow teams.
Yes. Again, you're going to have to sweat out the last 5.5 minutes. Know that when you sign up for this over, you're going to be sweating out your life. No need to go for a workout that day. Just sit in front of the TV and put the sweatsuit on, because it's coming.
Yeah, I like that description. Perfect. We'll stay in the Big Ten for the last game that I have as a preview here on Tuesday. IU 6-1 at Michigan 4-4. I also just put this one on here because I wanted to point out Michigan has lost 4 of their last 5, and this could get ugly if they start losing here early in the Big Ten.
Yep. I got the line at +6 for Indiana, and I will take the +6 with Indiana. Yeah. I was very impressed with what they did against Maryland. They kind of let them creep back towards the end. They maybe need to work on the whole like putting your foot on the throttle there at the end and really crushing your opponent. And I mean, Michigan stinks. Don't trust them. Don't care about them. Everyone's emotions in Michigan are not going towards the basketball team right now. It's going to the football team. Perfect time for Indiana to come in and just cover the 6.
Yep. Yeah, I'm definitely going to take that too. I didn't know that was how big the spread was. There's only one issue with IU. They can't shoot. Well, Michigan can't shoot either. They shoot less than 50% from the field. They shoot 65% from the free throw line. It's a match made in heaven for IU. You don't have to worry about it getting blown out by a real good offensive team.
I will say this is not good for the Big Ten if somehow Indiana can figure out a way to beat Michigan, because now they're starting out with a big road win at Maryland, plus getting the home win at Maryland, road win at Michigan.
Yeah.
That's huge for them, because they generally are the team that stumbles into the Big 10 and then figures it out towards the end. They're figuring it out early. It's gonna get interesting, especially with those Purdue games.
Yep.
Just saying.
And the last game I had here, just for the preview, and then if you have any others, we can talk about those. But Wednesday, number 12 Texas, 6-1 at number 8 Marquette, who is 6-2. This is obviously Shaka against his former team. I think Texas is flying a bit under the radar because they don't have any marquee wins, but quietly, Max Amos, he started off slow. He didn't have 20 points in any of his first 5 games. He's now back-to-back games of over 20 points, and he's starting to play a lot more. They played him over 34 minutes in each of the last 2 games. Before that, his high was 28. So they're starting to realize this guy's a stud, but he needs volume. So Max Amos is starting to get going. I don't have a spread here yet. They're on the road, so it's a bit difficult. If it's anything like 5 or more, I'd probably take Texas, but I definitely think Marquette leaning to win this game, but I think Texas keeps it close.
Yep. So Marquette will not have 2 bad shooting games in a row. And Texas, you just referenced the offense. I'm taking the over. Fingers crossed it lands at like 147.5. I think we're getting to 150. We're getting in a little too close. But I think the over is so easy here if you can get something close to that 147, 148 number. Because again, Marquette's not having 2 straight bad games, and Texas they're an offense. So I'd love the over in that one. But again, we'll see what happens. But that's the way I'm leaning right now.
You got any other games that you like, or any
Oh,
picks
of
you wanna give
course
out?
I do, buddy. Of course I do. Let's see here. I got Evansville BYU Tuesday, 9:00 ESPN Plus. I'm taking the over 151.5. That's a full 1.5 difference across the books in this one. And BYU shoots the lights out of the ball. They might put up 100 points. So I'll go over. And then Seton Hall Baylor, also 9:00 ESPN2 on Tuesday. Also taking the over 151.5 in that one, because again, Baylor will score nearly 100 points in that game and plays no defense. So Seton Hall 5-2. So those are the other 2 plays I had for Tuesday in the top 25 of note.
All right, I have a pick for each day. So if you like scoring, watch this game. Cornell against Syracuse. The over-under is 164.5. These 2 teams, on paper, obviously, you think Syracuse has got to be better, right? No, Ken Pom actually has them nearly back-to-back. Cornell shoots the lights out from 3. Yes. Obviously, Syracuse still plays zone at least half the time. I actually like Cornell plus the points. I got it at +4. On Wednesday, I like Memphis to beat VCU. Obviously, I don't have a line for that yet, but I like Memphis to beat VCU on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, I like Iowa State to beat Iowa. The home team has won 7 out of the last 8 times in this rivalry. Iowa is super overrated. They don't have the stars like Murray and Garza this year. They just got crushed by Purdue just before recording this podcast. Iowa State is elite on defense, and they actually can score this year, averaging 82 points per game.
Love that. I love the Cornell bet, by the way. I thought about that one because I referenced before. I love the Ivy League, but then I also referenced you just don't go into Syracuse and win. So I was fringed on that one, but I love the bet. Love the bet.
All right. Well, we'll be back later this week on a Friday episode to preview the weekend with all the big college basketball coming up this weekend. Make sure you check us out on Twitter, and we'll talk to you soon.
Love you guys.